You got in your car, you turned on the stereo, or you have, nationwide satellite radio. You drove down the road with your air conditioning on. You were doing approximately 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. And the speed limit was faster than anybody had traveled in 1911. Remember that. In 1911, nobody traveled the rate most of you travel out regularly. You arrived at the airport, you parked the car, you went in, you got in this airplane, you flew 6 or 7 hours, and the food wasn't very good, and you'd already seen the movie. Now, everything I just described would have seemed like a miracle to the people of 1911. They would have been amazed. As late as 1900, the average age for Americans was 46. People died on average by 46 years of age. Just think about that. And so we've had enormous progress. And one of the great problems, one of the reasons that Clifton and I decided to run, and I have to confess I haven't done a very good job of this. I want to break out of all of the garbage that has become modern politics. I want to get back to talking about the things that have made America remarkable, not the negative areas. This has been the most remarkable country in the history of the world. More people come from more places and become American. Learn how to dream. Learn how to work hard. Take somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he was a young bodybuilder in a small village in Austria, he had no great future. There's no place in Austrian society for a bodybuilder to enter politics. There's no place in the Austrian society for a bodybuilder to go out and become a successful movie star and become a successful real estate investor. And so Schwarzenegger comes to California. And he becomes Conan the Barbarian. Not a great film, but a really profitable film. And then he has a whole series of roles. And he's a pretty smart guy. And he saves his money. And he invests in real estate. And he's worth like $700 or $800 million. And one morning he runs for governor in a totally whacked out situation where the governor's been recalled, it's all chaos, and he wins. And as you know, he's become so American that you can't even tell that he came from a foreign country because he speaks English so perfectly. I once used him in a course to illustrate. I had a video of Schwarzenegger talking about how well he spoke English. He's very funny about it. I always tell people, I don't know how many of you ever listened to Dr. Henry Kissinger, but Kissinger speaks with a very German accent. Now, his brother came at the same time, in 1945 after World War II, and his brother speaks totally fluent English. You could not tell where he came from. And I always remind people that there are two reasons that Henry didn't learn to speak English like his brother. The first is that to learn to speak a language without an accent, you have to actually listen. And Dr. Kissinger, frankly, hasn't found us all that interesting. And the second is that Henry is a very good friend of ours, knows that his consulting fees would go down dramatically if he sounded like a normal person. So he gets to keep that accent going to be able to charge what he charges. Now, I'm telling you these stories because they're stories about a magical place. Those of you who are students are in college in a magical place. The most extraordinary society in history. The most inventive. The most entrepreneurial. I mean, how many of you have an iPhone? Just raise your hand. Okay, how many of you have a BlackBerry? How many of you have an iPad? Okay. How many of you how many of you are on Facebook? Okay. All right. Let's really think about it. How many of you use a credit card at an ATM to get money? Have you ever thought about just the process you're involved in?